Howdy, welcome back to Wobble Enjoy Sports. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you're a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Let's get stuck into round number 21. Round 21 starts on Thursday night from Allianz Stadium. The Sydney Roosters host the Melbourne Storm. Coming into the contest, the Melbourne Storm are the favourites for now. $1.57 they are. The Roosters, they are $2.42 outsiders. Going into the team lists, the Roosters, Ethan King and Robert Toya, they are the centres. Sandon Smith and Sam Walker, they are the halves pairing. And Lindsay Collins, Nofahu White start, and Crichton, Fekete and Siwa Wong is the back row. That means that Victor Radley is out, so too is Billy Smith. The interchange for the Roosters is Docker Clay, Steep, Butcher and Lenu. Going into the Melbourne Storm lineup, Nick Meaney remains at fullback. Pappenhausen is still out with injury. Howarth and Chan, they are the centres. Anderson and Coates still the wings. Wishart and Jerome Hughes, the halves pairing. Munster out for personal reasons this weekend. Thoughts and condolences to him and his family. The forward pack, Utuk Ikamanu and King. And the interchange, Garlic, Lasati, Kamikamitha and Kane Bradley. Big Nelson Asofa-Solomona is out for 2 games due to a suspension. The Roosters last weekend, they were in the contest for the first 50-odd minutes of the game, and it just fell away poorly, very, very poorly for them against the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. Meanwhile, the Melbourne Storm, errors and just wanting to not play the patient game at times, taking nothing away from Manly, really cost them in the end. Melbourne going down to Manly at Amy Park last weekend in a pretty massive upset. And we know the story, how it always goes. If Melbourne Storm lose one game, 9.5 times out of 10 the week after, they're coming out firing. And the Roosters, they lost last weekend, and Tedesco had himself arguably his most quiet game of 2025, so he might be looking to return with a huge bang, but I just can't go past the Melbourne Storm in this one, even minus Nas and Munster. I'm going to go the Melbourne Storm to win this game 1-12. Moving to Friday night football, and there are 2 matches. Match number 1 is from Queensland Country Bank Stadium. North Queensland host the St George Illawarra Dragons. Cowboys, they are $1.58. The St George Illawarra Dragons, they are $2.39. Changes for both of these sides. Robert Derby comes into the fold. Murray Taulagi is going to be out possibly for the rest of the season. So that is a huge, huge loss because he's been tremendous since he returned from his initial injury earlier on in 2025. Tom Duffy and Tom Dearden are the halves pairing. Jackson Purdue shifts into the centres and will partner Zach Leibart with Braden Burns out there on the other sting as well. The forward pack is still a little decimated, or becoming more decimated as the weeks go by. So McLean is out now, is Thomas McKaylee. So Harrison Edwards will start in the front row alongside Griffin Neame. The back row is Bateman, Nene and Cotter. The interchange is Lawton, Lars, O'Donnell and Hess. Then shifting into the St George Illawarra Dragons now. Sloan remains on the sting. Matt Fingai is in the centres. Corey Allen on the sting. No change in the halves. The forward pack, there's no change. The interchange is Little, Lowry, Stewart and Michael Molo. I spoke to the boys on the Mad Dragons podcast last night. Please go and check that out. I'll put a link in the description or in the comments section below. And I am not taking the Dragons lightly in any way, shape or form. This is sort of a flary, fanciful team with toughness taking on a tough team that can play fanciful, flary sort of football. If the Dragons come up and they are allowed to play their style of game, or if they can dominate with their style of game, Cowboys are in massive trouble, but that's not going to happen. Cowboys, they're going to win their first game at home in a number of weeks, over a month, I think, actually. So Cowboys, they're going to host the Dragons, but I think it'll be a close one. I think Cowboys win this game 1-12. The second game on Friday night is from Suncorp. Broncos host the Eels. Brisbane, they are $1.23. Parramatta, they are $4.10. Going into the Brisbane Broncos lineup. So we've got Selwyn Cobbo, who's been named on the reserves there, but Payne Haas, he returns this weekend. So too does Corey Jensen. He's coming off of the bench. And we've also got Jesse Arthurs, who also returns to first grade for the Brisbane Broncos. For the Parramatta Eels, Isaiah Iongi fractured his hand and he will be out for the next 4 weeks. So his campaign to be Dally M Rookie of the Year, I thought he was there, but now it's under serious threat. It would be a shame if he lost out due to this fractured hand. So that means Joash Papali is the fullback for the Parramatta Eels this weekend. Lomax and Fox are the wingers, and Penasini and Russell are the centres. Mitch Moses, that is the big story, arguably the biggest story of the weekend in the lead up to. Mitch Moses is back and he will partner Dean Hawkins in the halves. The forward pack are Hopgood, Smith and Polo, Geimer, Williams and Walker in the back row, and then the interchanges to Silva, Moretti, Dury and Tuavaiti. And just looking at the reserves as well. So, you've also got Dylan Brown that's also been named on the reserves as well. So maybe there could be a late change, seeing that Brown and Moses could be a halves pairing once more. But I don't think Jason Riles will shift, but we'll see what happens anyway. So the Broncos are coming off of a bye, and they've won 5 or 6 games in a row. Parramatta Eels, they have been plucky for a team that has been predominantly in the bottom 4 for the entire season. Geez, they can play some really good footy, but then it just switched off for them in the final half an hour of that game against Canberra. I think this could be a pretty good game. Broncos, if they start a little rusty, I think Parramatta can take advantage and even have a bit of a lead as well going into halftime. I do think the Broncos will overrun them. I think the Broncos will win this game 1-12. I think Parramatta might keep it respectful, but yeah, I mean, we did see what happened with them in the second half last week, didn't we? But Mitch Moses is a huge inclusion for Parramatta, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll make this competitive. I think Broncos win this game, though, 1-12. Super Saturday, there are 3 matches. Match number 1 is from Go Media Stadium. The Warriors host the Gold Coast Titans. Wars, they are $1.27. Gold Coast Titans, they are $3.82. Warriors, one of the all-time comebacks, one of the all-time buzzer beaters in NRL history. Absolutely extraordinary. But Warriors, they were pretty ordinary in the lead up to. I don't think that game will be remembered fondly for everything that happened for the first 75 minutes. It's definitely a classic finish, but it's not a classic match, I would say. Sorry to be so negative there, because that was, it was an insane victory for the Warriors. Going into the team lineups now, so CNK, Chance Nickel-Klukstar, is back. He is at fullback. DWZ and RTS remain on the Stings. Pompey and Capewell, they remain as the centres. Harris Tavita, Tanner Boyd in the halves. And then Fisher Harris, Egan and Ford. Halasima, Niakure and Aaron Clark. Interchanges Martin, Laban, Van Malga and Stowers. Smith with Tuapiki and Healy are still sitting in the reserves for the Gold Coast Titans now. Kelly and Fafita are the centres. Foran and Campbell remain as the halves. And it looks like that David Fafita is out. So too is Big Tino Fa'asuamalawi. I don't know if Fafita has been dropped or if he's been injured, but he is out again. So the forward pack here, so Jolliffe and Fodawaker start. Randall Fermor and Haas, Khaleesi Haas, form the back row. The interchange is Alec Wanke, Campbell Gillard, Isaac Fa'asuamalawi and Josh Paxton in jersey number 17 for the Gold Coast Titans, with Khan Pereira in jersey number 22 sitting there in the reserves. The Warriors back at home, buoyed by that last minute buzzer beater, should be too good for this Gold Coast Titans side. I think the New Zealand Warriors win this one, and Tanner Boyd gets a little bit of vengeance against his old club as well. I think the Warriors win this game. I'll say 1-12. The second game on Super Saturday is Penrith versus the West Tigers. Penrith, they are $1.24. The Tigers, they are $4.10. And this game is happening at CommBank Stadium. And the Panthers' run towards their 5th premiership in a row. It really starts right now because all hands are on deck, I believe. So Edwards is at fullback, Jenkins and To'o are the wingers. The centres is Tungo and McLean. Talangi and Nathan Cleary, they are the halves pairing. So Cleary comes back in. We've got Liotta, Smith and Kenny in the front row, Garner, Papali'i and Isaiah Yeo in the back row. The interchanges Schneider, Henry, Patia and Eisenhuth. Liam Martin named on the reserves. Okay, that is the name that I was missing there for a second. Scott Sorensen is also out. So they're not back to 100% full strength just yet. But when obviously Martin and Sorensen are right to go, they are going to be firing on all cylinders. For the West Tigers, they got a 1-point victory against the Gold Coast Titans at Leichhardt, and we'll go into the team list now. So Isaac Tuatupo is making his club debut. I think he's an old South Sydney player, I'm pretty sure, from a couple of years back. Taylor May made a very successful return to first grade last weekend as well. Luai and Latu Fainu, they are the halves pairing. The forward pack has not been changed, I don't think. Seifarth, Sukkar and Duihi is in the back row. The interchange is Hope, Bird, Pole and Sione Fainu. And that's just about it for the West Tigers. So despite that, there's a couple of despite the victory there for the West Tigers last weekend, it was against the Gold Coast Titans. Benji Marshall came out in his presser and said that they didn't play their best footy in that game, possibly their worst game of the season, with the Panthers now back at about 85% full strength, minus Martin and Sorensen, but Martin still could be a late inclusion this weekend. I think that the Penrith Panthers will win this game 13+. The final game on Super Saturday is from Polytech Stadium in Gosford. South Sydney Rabbitohs host the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. Rabbits, they are $4.60. Sharkies, they are $1.20. Let's get into the team list for South Sydney. There are mass changes. Jai Gray, he is at fullback. AJ and Munro, they are on the Stings. Tass and Duncan are the centres, with Whiten and Lewis Dodd as the halves pairing. The forward pack here is Totola, Havili and Kepi. We've got Aiken, Arrow and Hobner in the back row. On the interchange is LeBlanc, Host, Ryan Gray and Ashton Ward. So a couple of debutants there for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The likes of Humphreys, Kolomatangi and Peter Mamazoulis are out with injury. I've never seen anything like it, really. I think it's the worst injury crisis I've ever seen for any club in my lifetime. For the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks here, Britton Nikora is out due to a HIA. Therefore, Billy Burns will start. And the new face, I guess, this weekend is Atkinson in jersey 14. Colquhoun, Rudolph and Hamlin Uele round out the interchange. Sam Stonestreet has also been named on the reserves. Cronulla Sharks 13+. On Sunday, we've got Raiders versus Newcastle Knights from GIO Stadium. The Raiders $1.20. The Newcastle Knights, they are $4.60. For the Canberra Raiders, Sebastian Chris is out this weekend. So Semi Sasangi will play centre. He has been a fantastic Swiss Army knife this season. He's had a great year. His best in first grade so far. On the interchange for them is Patty, Martin, Smithies and Atta Mariotta. For the forward pack, that's pretty much unchanged. Everything else is the same, really. Jet Stewart's still on the wing. For the Newcastle Knights, it seems like that the only change is Jack Hetherington. He comes into the fold instead of Thomas Kent, I'm pretty sure that is. So Jack Hetherington is in, but the rest of the side from last weekend remains the same. Newcastle Knights, they have been not a bogey side. They seem to make the Raiders sweat 9 times out of 10 over the past 5 seasons, so they might be able to come down and make the Raiders work for it. Am I worried about the Raiders at the moment? Because they just seem like that ever since they came off their first bye, they've come back and they've made it. They haven't been quite as smooth as what they were. I know they won 40-16 or whatever it was over the weekend against Parramatta, but they're doing things the hard way at the moment, and it's just I don't know, I'm just getting a little bit like, oh, Raiders, you've got to keep the fire up. But they're still 1 or 2 points clear, including for and against. So, yeah, I've got to go the Canberra Raiders to win this game. I'll say 13 plus. And then finally, we finished with the game of the round, the Bulldogs versus the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. This time from Allianz Stadium. The Bulldogs are $1.62. The Sea Eagles, they are $2.31. This is the rematch that everybody has been looking forward to all year long. At the start of the season, this was or is one of the more anticipated, if not the most anticipated game of 2025. And while Manly Sea Eagles before last weekend weren't coming in with convincing form, they just stepped away with a victory against Melbourne down in Melbourne, and the Bulldogs are going okay. No, they're going good. They're going good. Not as good as they were at the start of the year, but they're going good. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. For the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, unfortunately, Tupanua is out with a hamstring injury, so I'm pretty sure that brings in Josh Curran and or Harry Hayes into the fold. And then for the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles here, it looks like Olakau'atu. Whoa, Olakau'atu is back this weekend. That is massive. So Olakau'atu is in, and that puts Corey Waddell to the interchange bench as well. Oh, and also Bronson Sherry is back for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs this weekend. Yo, this is definitely the game of the round. This is blockbuster stuff down there at Allianz Stadium. I am going to give. Who am I going to give the benefit of the doubt to here? I'm going to say the Bulldogs here. Not convincingly. This is a flip of the coin game. It's great value on Manly if you want to tip Manly, that's for sure. But I think the Bulldogs are going to win this game 1-12. Hey guys, thank you very much for your continuous support. I hope you enjoyed that video. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Take care. Adios.